Hey friends, welcome to another episode of the show. Hey, my guest today, honestly, I've been hustling this one for over 2 years. Seriously.
I didn't know I was being hustled. There you go.
14th president of Goldey-Beacom College in Wilmington, Delaware, and the first woman to hold that title in the institution's 140-year history. How about that?
Actually, not only the first woman, I was the first person they ever hired from the outside.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Double bonus. But here's what I want to just lay down before we even start. And it's a number, 90%. 90% for over a decade, 90% of your students land a career in their field, which I think is putting your money where your mouth is. Dr. Colleen Perry Keith, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you. And that 90% figure it's not an extrapolation of, we didn't sample a certain, number of students and then extrapolate out. We actually call every single student, and we start gathering the data during Grad Fest. So students that are graduating come in to pick up their, regalia and that sort of thing. And we talk to them right then, and our career services office has talked to them, throughout.
With a clipboard,
Oh yeah.
We some old school.
Yep. And then for anybody who we don't catch, then we actually have interns in the career services office in the summer, and they call people, what are your plans? What are you doing now? And we do get, we're able to say, yes, here are all the people we called. Here's what they're doing. So it's a pretty hard statistic.
So you stepped into the role 2019?
Yes.
Third time sitting president in the chair, right? 2 previous institutions, both turnarounds. You seem to be somebody that comes in and kind of runs into the fire and says, pick me. What makes you look at Goldey-Beacom and think, this one's a little bit different. Let me take this one.
There aren't too many times in life when your professional opportunity dovetails beautifully with personal needs. And this Goldey-Beacom did that for me in 2 ways. I had been at 2 previous institutions, and I'm now entering my 18th year as a college president. So I feel like I've been around the block a time or 2. But, most of not-for-profit private higher education is challenged, financially very, very, very challenged. And you're always and not to say Goldey-Beacom isn't, because we are in different ways, but Goldey-Beacom is also very financially stable. We had the luxury of having several years of income over expense that got swept.
I've never heard that term before. In the last decade, I don't think I've ever heard that.
See, because I'm old. And so back when I started, that's what you talked. You did income over expense. And so we swept that profit into the endowment. And so now our endowment's about $214 million. And it's about 96% of it is unrestricted. So I can do whatever I want to with that, with board approval. Then I also have reserves. And so I've got about 25 million in reserves. So all of a sudden, here's a small, not-for-profit, private higher education institution that has financial stability so that I can be innovative and I can make decisions that will help. And then it's in Wilmington, Delaware. And I have one son, who lives in Silver Spring, Maryland. And he is now married and has 2 children. And my mom and dad, my dad has since passed, but they lived north of Syracuse, New York, where I'm from. And I'm about 4.5 hours from my mom and dad, and about 1.5 hours from my son and his family. So this, and I realized, especially after I moved, and I've moved around a lot, but when I was in South Carolina and then moved to North Carolina, you realize that you see your parents less and less. And so when I was in North Carolina, my dad was starting to have more than the usual number of health problems. And I knew that if I was going to spend any kind of meaningful time with them, I needed to get closer, but I wasn't really looking to leave. But when the opportunity was presented to me that, hey, you might want to look at this, I'm like,
Everything
okay,
lined
the,
up.
the two
Yeah.
things merge together, and that's a good thing.
Yeah. Yeah, it really is. It's what ensues in life. It's not always what you're pursuing and,
That's
the
right. Yeah.
everything over. So you've got this incredible endowment. You're
Mhm.
you're well placed as an institution, high demand. But let's put the sector on the table for a minute. Let's just kind of take that longitudinal look. Small private institutions are closing, at a rate this country has never seen before. It's just
Yeah.
sobering. It's sobering.
Yeah.
That demographic cliff is accelerating, and there's a lot of theories out there, but they're just not really making more 18-year-olds, and
No,
that's just
no, we got a
the
ways to
challenge
go.
that every president is just wrestling with right
Yeah.
now. Um, so walk me through what's actually happening in the market right now from where you sit. What are you studying? Yes, you have, I think, a distinctive advantage, but there's two books that I love to read. Good to Great is one, the red book,
Mhm.
but then How the Mighty Fall was the next book,
Oh, yeah.
right? And so you
Yeah.
have to stay on both of the, the startup. How do you get there? But then how do you stay there?
Yeah. And that that is it's a balancing act every day, because even though I have an endowment, and even though we lowered our tuition, we rolled it back in 2021. Timing is everything. We didn't get the boom that you usually get when you do a rollback or a reset because of COVID. But our tuition this year, I think, is 17.5. So we're way lower than
I
a
would
lot of the
say, I
competition.
would
And
say,
that's because of that endowment. That's how we choose to spend our money, to keep our tuition low so that accessibility is high so students can come here. But we're still facing the same thing everybody else is facing in terms of undergraduate enrollment. We have been stagnant. We were down a little bit last year, but only about 4 persons down, so not huge, but still down. And this year, when I'm looking at the numbers coming in for fall, I don't think we'll be that high.
are you seeing just that traditional growth in your graduate programs?
The growth over time has always come for us in the graduate
Yeah,
programs,
yeah, that's
specifically with graduate international students.
okay.
But and that's a function of where we are and the fact that we are a historic business college. So we're in Wilmington, Delaware. You can get into Wilmington by Amtrak, by SEPTA, you can get here. So the graduate program we built out, really, it got built out with people that were here on F1 visas, that lived in New York City or Baltimore or DC or Philly or someplace else, and they came in to go
Hmm.
to classes. So now we do a lot more online. We didn't do anything online before COVID, and we do now.
Has anybody quantified how many countries you have on campus?
Oh, yeah, this year I think we had 26 countries, which is actually down from what it has been. So the trends that are happening in international student visas and just visa work
Last
overall.
fall was very, very interesting, and I'm sure you
Yes.
were scrambling just like everybody else to try
Yes.
to keep the temperature down a bit.
Yep. And we are also very fortunate because we're what they call a day one CPT school. So international students can come here. So they will have completed an undergraduate degree, and they can apply to our graduate program. They can also get a job. And as long as they're enrolled in a program that's approved for CPT, for curricular practical training, they can stay in their job, but they
Interesting.
have to be enrolled. So we have that opportunity too. We're also, close to it's a big financial center in Delaware. So you've got Bank of America, Chase, um, you know, all the different banking institutions, Citibank, just, all of those are all around here. So we're very fortunate in that. But then also from those other financial centers. So if people are, in New York City, in Philadelphia, and wherever, they can come here. And so that's really where our enrollment growth has come from. As that has dwindled over time, we've now, over the last couple of years, been able to build it back up by using some external vendors to help us with that.
Okay.
And because the world of how you recruit, we were basically 100% word of mouth, did no recruitment at all. Now that's a different world. So, we've had to figure out, how do you recruit and how do you build that number back up. So growing in that market. But now you've got, duration of status and that kind of stuff, new rules coming down through Homeland Security,
Just
and
got to stay fluid through all of it, and
yeah, you got to figure out what's happening.
stay intentional. You see people scurrying right now, but I used the word hustle earlier as a good word. Hustle means
Yeah,
you've got an offense, right? And you're working it. You're working
right.
it. So when you look at how most of the private institutions are responding to all of that, no different than
Mhm.
you, what do you see them doing that just it's not working, or it's not working anymore?
Sometimes I think they're moving away from their mission. And what I have found is the closer I stay to my mission, the better decisions I make, because I don't, when you drift away from your mission, all of a sudden you have to start spending more because you've got to, staff up in this area or that area, and you may
Yeah.
have to do that anyway. But if you're if you're going to create a new program to ride a new wave, that's going to take new people. And typically, you've got to have those people in place before you start recruiting students into whatever that new wave is. And it's so if you stay close to your mission, you contain your costs a lot more. And then, a lot of times I think people make bad decisions when it comes to taking care of their people.
Hmm.
Um, that I want my I want my employees to be happy. I want them to feel like they're valued. I want them to feel like they have a voice and a say in what we do. So we do a lot of communication here. And then, just as soon as I say that, somebody will come along and, this school never tells me anything. I never, you get all that. So you can't ever win really. But, we make sure that our students are taken care of and our employees are taken care of. So,
What is that distinctive difference in your mission? I look at mission statements for
yeah,
fun, just for sport. And if you do a doodle poll
yeah,
or Wordle, they're all kind of the same. But what is that just
yeah, because
you have a lot of pride.
ours is pretty generic in a lot of ways, but also simple. It's empowering learners to achieve excellence by linking knowledge to practice. And for us, what that means is every program that we do, there has to be a link to the practice. So that could be done through internships,
Mhm.
through guest speakers, through who we hire. We have a pretty small faculty, so we have a lot of adjuncts. And when we're hiring an adjunct, we want somebody who is actually working in that field doing
Absolutely.
whatever that is.
We
So
call that legit.
yeah, so that helps us link the knowledge to practice. Um, we try to make sure that we're offering attainable, inclusive, career-focused programs that are responsive to evolving needs as we understand them from our students and the workforce. And so everything we do is with an eye toward whether or not our students are going to be employable when they're done here. And that goes back to our history as a business college. That's just things. But even, we have English majors, CJ majors, psych's our biggest program actually. And we make sure that that whatever we're doing in the classroom is going to help lead to employability. And, that's a part of what our faculty think of when they're setting up their learning outcomes for their classes, and what our provost talks about when he's, doing faculty evaluations. How does this link knowledge to practice? And are our students going to be able to get jobs as a result? So we kind of obsess over that.
I'm going to challenge you there because I think you can accept this challenge. But that mission statement, I think there is an embedded because afterwards. If you read that statement and then just the last word was because, and then you just filled in that blank, that is the very core of the culture of your institution.
Yeah.
Can you take just a wild swing at what that because
Yeah.
statement is?
Let's see. Empowering learners to achieve excellence by linking knowledge to practice,
Because
because that's what matters to students and families.
that's what it is. For us to
Yeah.
stay in demand, if it's not, yes, grounded in scholarship, but then coupled with practice,
Yeah.
our students won't be as employable as they need to be. And 90% doesn't happen by accident.
No, it really doesn't. And I'm surprised. like in our career services office, I've been really fretting about that recently because I feel like I need to staff up by one more, because more and more of our faculty are now drinking the Kool-Aid more than ever to actually make sure that there are internships required in every one of our programs.
That's a fact. They are required in every one of your programs.
We're moving to that. We don't have them all
Okay.
required yet, but we do have in 3 of our programs right now, they are required. But that puts more strain on the career services office. So I'm like, okay.
Hey friends, quick question before we get back to it. I know that you have talented people on your leadership team, but is your team actually performing to its full potential? Most aren't, and most don't know why. The Team Intelligence Assessment is a solution to change that. Find out where your team stands at higherperformancegroup.com. Go to find your starting point to get started today, or click the QR code in the screen right here. All right, back to the show.
Because even though I have this endowment and I have reserves, I'm still a 501c3 and I need to live within my means. My tuition, I am tuition driven. I need to be able to live on that. And I can't all the time. And so as it stands right now, when I look at my budget today, can I add one more person in career services? And, the answer is no, unless I see a bigger uptick on the revenue coming in from enrollment.
Makes sense.
Yeah. So I don't overspend.
Yeah. Just the business acumen, just the language that you use. And I would imagine sitting at the board table takes a little different, maybe different style because of your ability to come in and understand. Where did that business acumen come from?
Just experience, because I was a political science major as an undergrad and then got master's in counseling and doctorate in higher ed admin. But where
I would say, can you balance your checkbook back in the day? But you have learned, revenue expense is a real thing, and we got to stay paying attention to that while we love on our people.
Yeah.
Right?
And really, I learned because I worked for about a dozen years at a United Methodist graduate theological school. And small school, no more than 300 students, and so small staff. So you had to learn everything. And we operated on very thin margins. And, I remember, we didn't have our endowment was invested through the Common Fund, and we didn't have an outside investment advisor. The Common Fund always worked with us. And so, I just learned from being in that environment where you were up close to all of the work all of the time.
Right.
And you couldn't, there wasn't anybody to fall back on. There were no, the United Methodist Church did give all the freestanding seminaries money every year. So everybody got about $1 million. But $1 million doesn't go that far, when you're trying to run a school. And you have to have 15 faculty and something, all the support services, because everything you do at a small place is the same as you have to do at a large place.
The functions are the same. Yes,
all the same.
Yeah.
So and it's gotten worse over time because compliance has increased over time. So every time I see an article, and especially typically it's a faculty member who's complaining about administrative bloat, it's like, there is no bloat, let me tell you. It's because the job has to get done. And there are, if I don't, I lose, and it all comes back to accreditation. So,
yes.
But I think learning all of being so up close and into it all at the seminary really helped me understand what needed to happen.
Well, you are very, very well placed, and you've got a lot of reps, in your pathway. I was looking to see what fancy awards, a lot of presidents list fellowships and board appointments, and you've got a few of those. But the one that stuck out, they're Drum Major of the Year.
3 years running.
Come on, 78, 79, and maybe, 80, I don't know, that 80 was a questionable year, but it was a...
that was the year I graduated from high school. Yeah. And so
the miracle year. That's right.
But 78, 79, and 80, I grew up in Oswego, right on the edge of the Tug Hill Plateau
Right in
in
Syracuse.
Parrish, New York. Yeah, north
Yeah.
of Syracuse. And the Tug Hill Plateau is where it's not known for economic opportunity. It's known for getting about 225 inches of snow a year. And every year, year over year, luckily not at the same time, but you will notice in that area, like this is June 4th, they will not even be having high school graduations until the end of June, maybe early July, even sometimes, because you have so many snow days.
Oh
So
my goodness.
you build in all these calamity days and it pushes the graduation out. But I grew up there, a very small area. There were, I think, 107 people in my high school graduating class, and probably 5 or 6 of us went to college right out of high school. Most did not. Most worked, and many have gone back since. And I'm still in contact with with everybody from there. They're all great people, but it was a small place, and so you had to do a little bit of everything. So I marched in the band, I played sports, I was a cheerleader. You did everything because you had to do everything. And band was a big summer activity for most of us. Marching band had parades all summer long because all the little towns around there would
Sure.
have
It's a big deal.
firemen's field days.
Oh, yes.
And so, so we went. And then and if, most of the bands competed at the state fair, the New York State Fair, in the band competition. And there was a marching and maneuvering piece. And that's where the drum major of the year stuff comes from. I think I still have pictures, probably on my Facebook page someplace about that. Yeah. But lots of pageant of bands. And and I was a French horn player in concert band and then mellophone in the marching band.
We're
And
gonna have to use some Chat GPT for that last one, the mellophone.
it's it's a marching French horn, basically. It looks like a big trumpet.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. Well, interesting stuff. And I always think that, especially faculty, students take interesting people and then they,
Yes.
define programs. And my guess is that you've brought a lot of just humanness to the campus as well. I want to see how human you really are. We do this thing called the lightning round.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
Lightning round where I'm going to ask you a few questions and you just, the first thing that comes to mind. Okay.
Okay.
Are you ready?
All right.
Here we go. A quote that you live by.
People don't come to work to fail.
Period.
Period.
There it is.
Sometimes that's important to remember.
Yeah, period. I like that. We're going to put that. How about the worst advice that you've ever received in leading people?
You need to go in and clean house, because the flip side of that is the best advice I ever got. And that is, when you go into a new place, do not go in and make any changes for the first year, because people don't come to work to fail. Give everybody a chance to prove themselves, and then start making your changes after your first year. And that was a high school principal. He was my next door neighbor, Joe Kumi. He told me that right before I went to work. I moved from a program manager role at a regional campus of Ohio State down to the Graduate Theological Seminary. And he was my next door neighbor. And and I was going executive assistant to the president. And he said, let me tell you something. And, I hope you find this to be true. And he said,
did he point his finger like that too?
He did.
Don't
make any changes. He still would. I mean, I'm still friends with him, and he would tell me if I was wrong about something all the time. But he was right, and I've lived by that ever since. And sometimes pretty quickly that there's a change that needs to be made, but most of the time, people have a way of living up or down to your expectations of them.
Absolutely.
And they tend to live up to them.
I love how you stitch that together. How about an unpopular opinion that you are eager to defend?
That colleges cannot solve all of the problems of society, and sometimes you have to let a student go. there's colleges always want to save every student, but that's not what we're here for.
Mm-hmm.
And some students need a break. I just had one recently who, great young man, great young man. I really, really like him. But we are not a social service agency. We cannot solve all of the problems that this young man has. We can point him to the resources in the community that can help him. We can help him, move him along to help access those. We can follow up with him, but we are not where he needs to be right now.
Yeah.
And people get mad at me about that. And I understand it. I don't want to give up on anybody either, especially a young person.
Perhaps you didn't.
Yeah. And that's a good way of looking at it, because if I can get that person into the situation they need to be in, where they can, do what they need to do to be successful, they can come back. But I'm not going to keep charging them tuition and have them run up a bill, and then they're going to become a statistic for me, and I'm going to have to send them to collections. Why would I do that?
Exactly. How about something you've changed your mind about recently? And maybe that kind of ties into the last question as well. Nice segue.
Yeah. I've changed my mind a lot about spending money. I tend to be pretty conservative about spending money. I'm, I was one of six. My mom, and I'm a first gen student.
Scrappy.
Yeah. And I tend to do a lot of homework before I spend money. But sometimes you've got to spend money to make money. And so I'm more willing recently, in the past year or so, to put together the justification for why I need a special allotment of money from reserves to be able to do this. And here's the outcome that I believe we're going to get from this spending. And so I've been more intentional about spending money, and really changed my mind that it's not just about, saving. Sometimes you do have to spend.
Yeah, I think prudence and profitability do walk hand in hand.
Yeah, they do.
Absolutely.
Yes.
How about a decision that you would make 10 times over again?
I think to hire the right personality for the position, because there have been so many times when you look at what the person, the experience, education and experience that the person brings to the position. And we just went through a hiring process, and all three of the final candidates were exactly well qualified. Any one of them could have done the job. But it's that person environment fit. I needed the right personality, because we're small. And if I bring in somebody who's going to be a little too strong-willed, that's all it's going to be, is constant butting of heads. And so hiring the right personality, they're always usually very well qualified, but I figure I can always teach people what they need to know, but I can't always get the right person environment fit into the role. And that's what I tend to, knowledge and experience are great, but I also need that person environment fit.
Yeah, I so believe that it's not your role to hire. Yes, you do need to hire the right person, but more so you need to build the right team.
Yes.
That is where it's at. Well, let's play the food scene here for a minute. So,
Okay.
Wilmington, Capriati's or Claymont Steak Shop? Huh?
I've
never been to either, but I heard that's like Delaware's people. You decide if you can trust somebody based upon where they're going.
Cheesesteaks are big here. The proximity to Philly is big, and that's right. Capriati's and Claymont Steak Shop are both cheesesteak places. I physically am close to a Capriati's, so I tend to be more of a Capriati's person. But Claymont isn't that far away. I'd say Capriati's is about 4 miles. Claymont's about 7. So
Got it.
Yeah. So I
Unpaid
got
advertisements for both of them today.
yes.
If you weren't running the college, what would you be doing?
I I actually enjoy doing research. I've been for the past probably 20 years almost, maybe 18 years. I've done a lot of work in family history, genealogy, researching my own family. And then, like, my daughter in law said, hey, can you look at, whatever? So I started looking at hers. I love looking, doing that kind of research, but then also going beyond just the names and looking at the historical time that something happened in.
Interesting.
So I really enjoy doing that. I think I would enjoy working in library settings where you're actually helping scholars do research on various topics, whatever it is that they're interested in. I find I'm interested in just about everything, which is a bad thing too, because then I'm, like the squirrel, I'm just kind of all over the place. But I would be doing something in a research-based area. When I finally retire, which hopefully will be one of these days, I probably will do things like volunteer to write grant proposals for not-for-profits. I serve on a foundation board now for a upstart foundation called Roofs from the Heart. And we, I was one of their first board members. So I've been with them since the beginning. They were an outgrowth of a roofing company here in town, and
Okay.
I'd met the roofing guys. And so I've been helping them with, okay, roofs, it's not just about giving away free roofs. Roofs play a role in family health. So what you're really doing is improving the health of a community, the health of a family, that sort of thing. Because if you
Love
don't
that.
have a strong roof, you've got mold, you've got all these other issues.
Repurposing, it's rebranding basically.
Yeah.
It's the why, it's the because statement to their mission.
Mhm.
Back to that exercise.
Yeah.
Last question, one word for GBC's future.
I would say innovation. I feel like everything we do anymore is looking out, trying to read the tea leaves and looking out into the future and being innovative within what we have and what we do so that we're meeting the needs of that future.
So good. So good. Dr. Colleen, I wish we had more time, but we don't. And to everybody listening, here is the lesson. And I always look for that little morsel. What is the lesson in here? And I think it's that perception gap because honestly, and I shared this with you, never heard of your campus before.
Yeah.
Never heard of it. But you just proved that a 140-year-old institution that most people have never heard of can post a 90% placement rate.
Yeah.
And you're making national rankings and just doing everything the way that it should be done today. You're modeling the way inside of an entire sector right now that is just contracting.
Yeah.
So that is the lesson that I'm pulling today. So if you're president, if you're a chancellor, if you're just aspiring to be one of those someday, this is a leader that you're going to want to track down and maybe figure out how to have a virtual cup of coffee or something with. Because there's not enough. There's a lot of dreamers out there. There are a lot of climbers out there, but there's not enough builders that are willing to stick around as long as you have to do what needs to be done. So I just applaud you. And yeah, thank you for this time here today. If they want to learn more about this campus that nobody's heard of before,
gbc.edu.
there it is.
Very easy.
And that's the show, friends. Peace and keep your dukes up.
Thank you.